Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. So quick disclaimer, this video may not be the tutorial, but it's just me learning the JavaScript. So we're gonna learn JavaScript from the scratch, absolute from zero. I'm gonna be learning, I'm gonna be sharing my own ideas, what am I doing. I know this is just a nonsense video it might be, but who cares, right? I'm just gonna post this video on YouTube. I just want to. So this is the great documentations for JavaScript because it has everything you want, comments, people's ideas, what they think, and etc. So we're gonna be listening to something. Because it kind of helps. Not kind of helps, but kind of interesting. Okay, let's see what is JavaScript. We're gonna start from 1.1 from the introduction. And an introduction to JavaScript. So let's see what's just so special about JavaScript, what we can achieve with it, and what other technologies play well with it. Okay, what is JavaScript? JavaScript was initially created to make a web page alive. Okay, the programs in this language are called scripts. They can be written right in a web page HTML and run automatically as the page loads. Scripts are provided and executed as a plain text. They don't need spatial preparation or completion to run. Okay, let me read again. Scripts are provided and executed as plain text. They don't need spatial preparation or completion run. It's in this aspect, JavaScript is very different from another language called Java. Okay, what is called JavaScript? Yeah, what's called JavaScript? When the JavaScript was created, it initially had another name, LiveScript. But Java was very popular at that time, so it was decided that positioning a new language as a younger brother of Java would help. Okay, but as evolved with, JavaScript became a fully independent language with its own specification called ECMAScript, and now it has no relation to Java at all. Rare. Okay, I got it. This has no relation with Java. It was popular, then they just named it the JavaScript. It was all scripts. Okay, I have something in my mind. Let's continue. Today, JavaScript can execute not only in the browser but also on the server, or actually on any device that has a special program called JavaScript engine. Okay, there is a JavaScript can execute not only in the browser but also on the server, or actually on any device that has a special program called JavaScript engine. So that means the browser has their own engine and the server has engine, but whatever the device has the JavaScript engine, the JavaScript works, right? That's what they're saying. The browser has an embedded engine, sometimes called the JavaScript virtual machine. Yeah, different engines have different code names, for example, VH in Chrome, Opera in Edge. Okay, there's a V8. That's the name of the engine, okay? That's the name of the engine. And it's in Chrome and Opera and Edge. Well, right now I'm using Firefox and Chrome that's it. There are other code names like Chakra for Internet Explorer, JavaScript Core, Nitro, and Squirrelfish for Safari. Well, Safari is, as you know, is for MacBook and Apple stuff. The terms above are good to remember because they're used in developer articles on the internet. Well, we'll use them too. As I read this word like a well. We will use them too. For instance, if the feature X is supported by V8, then it probably works in Chrome, Opera, and Edge. That is correct. How do it work? What am I talking about? How do engines work? Yeah. Engines are complicated, but the basics are so easy. I added the word so okay, easy. I'm gonna stress this word, okay? The engine embedded if it's browser reads. The engine embedded if it's a browser. Nah, if it's embedded, that means it's in browser, okay? Reads, parses. So basically in the documentations they use mostly the word parse and compile stuff. They don't use the convert words. So it's better to remember what this word. Parse means read. So the engine reads the script. The engine parses the script. That's okay, you got what I'm talking about. Then it converts the script to machine code. Like compiles. They use compile words. That's because I have to remember this word. Then it compiles the script to machine code. Alright, and then machine code runs pretty fast. What I'm saying. The engine applies optimizations at each step of the process. It even watches and compiles script as it runs, analyzes the data that flows through it, and further optimizes the machine code based on that knowledge. The engine applies optimizations at each step of the process. I don't really understand what is optimization. I know the word optimization, but I didn't understand what they were saying. But let's just copy this. Let's go to ChatGPT and ask it what they're trying to say to me. Where's my ChatGPT? That's right here. Okay. Alright, let's just paste this for now. Explain this to me. Okay, I hope it explains, because I've tried before, it didn't explain. The statement you're referring is likely describing the optimization process that occurs in just-time compiler. Just in time. This is the stand for just in time. Compilation is a process used in modern programming language such as Java, JavaScript, Python to improve the performance of the code at the runtime. When a just in time compiler runs, it takes a source code of a program and compiles into machine code that executed by the computer's CPU. Executed by the computer's CPU. It stands for Central Processing Unit. However, unlike the traditional compiler that compiled the entire program before execution, a JIT compiler compiles the code on the fly as executed. During this completion process, the JIT compiler applies various optimizations to the code, such as identifying redundant substitutions, eliminating dead code, and inlining function codes. These optimizations help to reduce the amount of time it takes for the code to execute, improving overall program performance. Once the code is compiled and running, the JIT compiler can further optimize the machine code based on the actual data that flows through the program. For example, if the JIT compiler observes, whatever, I got what they're saying. Let's just keep moving on. We don't have time to go in depth to this JavaScript, which is understood. It just compiles and reads, that's all. What can a browser JavaScript do? Yeah, what does the browser do with JavaScript, right? The modern JavaScript is a safe programming language. It doesn't provide a low-level access. JavaScript capability, it doesn't provide a low-level access to memory of CPU, because it was initially created for browsers which do not require it. JavaScript's capabilities greatly depend on the environment it's running. For instance, Node.js supports functions that allow JavaScript to write arbitrary files. Arbitrary means crash or something. Perform network requests, etc. In browser, JavaScript can do everything related to web page manipulation, interaction with the user, and the web server. It's better. So in browser, JavaScript can do everything related to web page manipulation, interaction with the user, and the web server. For instance, the browser JavaScript is able to add a new HTML to the page. So it can add a new HTML to the page, can change the existing content, modify the styles, react user actions, run on mouse clicks, pointer movements, key presses, send requests over the network to remote servers, download and upload files, so-called AJAX and command technologies, get and set cookies, ask questions to the visitor, show messages, remember the data on the client side. And what can't in browser JavaScript do? JavaScript's abilities in the browser are, I'm sorry, my words are kind of crashed by what I'm, like, I don't know what's happening to me. Sorry. So JavaScript's abilities in the browser are limited to protect the user's safety. The aim is to prevent an evil web page from accessing private information or harming the user's data. Examples of such restrictions include JavaScript on a web page may not read and write arbitrary files on the hard disk, copy them, and execute programs. It has no direct access to OS functions. Modern browsers allow it to work with files, but the access is limited and only provided if the user does certain actions like dropping a file or in the browser window or selecting it via input tag. Whatever. There are ways to interact with the camera, microphone, and other devices, but they require a user's explicit permission. Okay, you cannot hack with JavaScript. Okay, so JavaScript enabled page. I mean, you cannot hack with the websites. I think the cameras. Or can I? Who cares, buddy? We're just focusing on JavaScript. Let's not think about illegal things. All right. I'm just talking to myself. So JavaScript enabled page may not sneakily enable a web camera, observe the surroundings, and send the information to NSA. That's the National Security Agency, and that's situated in the United States. Am I recording something? Different tabs, windows generally do not know about each other. Sometimes they do. For example, when the one window uses JavaScript to open the other one. But even in this case, JavaScript from one page may not access the other one page if they come from different sites, from a different domain protocol. This is called same origin policy. To work around that, both pages must agree for data exchange and must contain special JavaScript code that handles it. We'll cover that in the tutorial. This limitation is again for the user's safety. A page from http://com which a user has opened must not be able to access another browser tab with a URL, for example, and steal information from them. JavaScript can easily communicate over the net to the server where the current page came from. JavaScript can easily communicate over the net to the server where the current page came from. Yeah, but its ability to receive data from other sites' domains is crippled. Like messed up. Though possible, it requires explicit agreement expressed in HTTP hard headers from the remote site. Once again, that's a safety limitation. Okay, a little bit of explanation. Such limitations do not exist if JavaScript is used outside of the browser. For example, on the server, modern browsers also allow plugins extensions which may ask for extended permissions. Yeah, that's really hard to hack. What makes JavaScript unique? Yeah, there are at least three great things about JavaScript. Full integration with HTML, CSS, simple things are done simply, supported by all major browsers, enabled by default. Of course, there is only one language that only browsers read, like parse. So that's because it's enabled by default. There is no any other language. JavaScript is the only browser technology that combines these three things. That's what makes JavaScript unique. That's why it's the most widespread tool for creating browsers interfaces. That said, JavaScript can be used to create servers, mobile applications. Wow, we'll make along the way languages over JavaScript. The syntax of JavaScript doesn't suit everyone's needs. Well, I hope it suits my needs. Different people want different features. I want whatever JavaScript can do because I need job. Well, actually, I'm actually getting job because I need money. Right? Everybody needs money, but I kind of have a interest to this field, so that's because I chose it. So okay, that's to be expected because because projects and requirements are different for everyone. So recently a plethora of new languages appeared which are transpiled converted to JavaScript before they run in the browser. Modern tools make the transpilation very fast and transparent, actually allowing the developers to code in another language and auto-converting it under the hood. Examples of such languages. CoffeeScript is a static sugar for JavaScript. It introduces shorter syntax, allowing us to write a clear and more precise code. CoffeeScript? The CoffeeScript is an engine, I think, right? No, it's not an engine. It's a syntactic sugar for JavaScript. Syntactic sugar. What does it mean? It introduces shorter syntax, okay, allowing us to write clear and more precise code. Usually Ruby devs like that, like it. I don't know what that Ruby means. Ruby is a kind of like language, right? TypeScript is concentrated on adding strict data typing to simply the development and support of complex systems. It's developed by Microsoft. Okay, TypeScript. We'll have to learn TypeScript in the future. Flow also adds data typing, but in different way. Developed by Facebook. Dart is a standalone language that has its own engine and that runs in non-browser environments like mobile apps, but also can be transpiled to JavaScript developed by Google. Python is a Python transpiler to JavaScript that enables the writing of applications in pure Python without JavaScript. Kotlin is a modern, concise, and safe programming language that can target in browser or node. Furthermore, of course, even if we use one of these transpile languages, we should also know JavaScript to really understand what we're doing. Yeah, that's what am I gonna do? Okay. So, summary. JavaScript was initially created as a browser-only language, but it's now used in many other environments as well. Today, JavaScript has a unique position as the most widely adopted browser language, fully integrated with HTML and CSS. There are many languages that get transpiled to JavaScript and provide certain features. It's recommended to take a look at them, at least briefly, after mastering JavaScript. Of course, after I master JavaScript, I will look at them. So this is a command section. Isn't it great? Well, I'm here to learn JS. Let's have fun. Good luck, future program. That's my comment 3 days ago. I was here. Hey, can anyone clear my doubt? Somewhere I read that now JavaScript have become the compiler interpreter language. Please tell me about this. Well, let me not reply. When you say JavaScript doesn't need to be compiled, you mean it doesn't need to be compiled into root code first and machine code? What? When you say JavaScript doesn't need to be compiled, well, like, it doesn't need to be compiled. The engine itself is compiled, like, oh. Should go back. The engine does modern JavaScript safe programming and accessibility. JavaScript compile directly dependent environment of JS and JavaScript. Alright, I think there's nothing left to understand, right? Because we understood the summary. Gave me everything. JavaScript was initially created as a browser-only language, but it's now used to any other mode in many other environments as well. Today, JavaScript has a unique position as the most widely adopted browser language, fully integrated with HTML CSS. Okay, let's move on to the second part. Hogwarts SMR, right? Maybe this. This book is tutorial. It aims to help you gradually learn the language, but once you're familiar with the basics, you will need other resources. Of course, specification, ECMAScript, like ECMA. Specification contains the most in-depth detailed and formalized information about JavaScript, it defines the language. But being deformalized, it's difficult to understand at first, so if you need the most trustworthy source of information about the language details, the specification is the right place. Yeah, of course. But it's not for everyday use. A new specification version is released every year. Between these releases, the latest specification draft is at here. You should just go, but I'm not gonna go. To read about the new bleeding edge features, including those that are almost standard, so-called stage 3 C proposals, whatever. Also, if you're developing for the browser, then there are other specifications covered in the second part of the tutorial. Manuals in the end, Mozilla JavaScript reference is the main manual with examples and other information. It's great to get in-depth information about individual language functions, methods, etc. You can find, although it's often the best to use an internet search instead just an MDN. If the query whatever search whatever compatibility tables. JavaScript is a developing language, and new features get added regularly. To see their support among browsers based on other engines, see this language. So you guys just go, because if JavaScript and any other languages are added, the changes, improvements are added in every year. So they're saying just go and check them out. Okay, let's just go another one. IDE. Well, code editors. A code editor is a place where programmers spend most of their time. I think I don't have to read this part because it's just IDE. I know what is IDE. Developer code console. That's the most important part. Code is prone to errors. You will quite likely make errors. Oh, what am I talking about? You're absolutely going to make errors, at least if you're human, not a robot. But in the browser, users don't see errors by default. So if something goes wrong in the script, we won't see what's broken and can fix it. To see errors and get a lot of other useful information about script developers tools have been embedded in the browsers. Yeah. Most developers learn towards Chrome or Firefox, for example, for development, because those browsers have the best developer tools. Like, this is the developer tool. So that's the developer tool, guys. This is you can see the text, but this is our developer tool. Oh my god, there's a lot of error, whatever. So that's console is our like developer tool. Google Chrome is like this. See, console. Well, I don't have to read it because I read something. JavaScript fundamentals. Great. Hello world. This part of the tutorial is about core JavaScript language itself, but we need a working environment to run our scripts. And since this book is online, the browser is okay, whatever. The script tag. The JavaScript programs can be inserted almost anywhere into HTML documents using script tag. For instance, this is the script tag. Okay. You can run the example by clicking the play button at the right top of the corner of the box that here. Hello world. Modern markup. The script tag has a few attributes that are already used nowadays, but they still can be found in old code. The type attribute, script type, the old HTML standard HTML4, but now we're using HTML5. Just in case I'm telling you, if you don't know. Sorry, my throat. Something. Okay, required a script to have a type. Usually it was type text JavaScript. It's not required anymore. Also, the modern HTML standard totally changed the meaning of this attribute. Now it can be used for JavaScript modules, but that's an advanced topic. We'll talk about modules in another part of the tutorial. Okay. The language attribute, script language. This attribute was meant to show the language of the script. This attribute no longer makes sense because JavaScript is the default language. There is no need to use it. I mean, we don't use it. In really ancient books, guides, you may find comments like script tag, JavaScript like this. We don't use such things, okay? This trick isn't used in modern JavaScript. These commands hide JavaScript code from old browsers that they didn't know how to process script tag. Since browsers released in the last 15 years don't have this issue, this kind of command can help you identify really old code. Who even cares about old code? External script. If we have a lot of JavaScript code, we can put it into separate file. Script files are attached to HTML with the source attribute, script path, whatever. Here, path to like this is the absolute path to script tag to is site fluid. Once one can also provide a relative path from the current page, for instance, the script, yeah, like connecting the external file like this. This is no dash. That's a different. We can also connect with URL as well. To attach several scripts, use multiple tags. Yeah. Please note, as a rule, only the simplest scripts are pulled to HTML. More complex ones they reside in separate files. The benefit of the separate files is that the browser will download it and store it in its cache. Other pages that reference the same script will take it from the cache instead of downloading it. So, the benefit of separate file is that the browser will download it and store its cache. Other pages that reference the same script will take it from the cache. Other pages that reference the same script will take it from the cache instead of downloading. So the file is actually downloaded only once. That reduces traffic and makes pages faster. If source is set, the script content is ignored. A single script tag can have the both source attribute and code instead. That won't work. For example, you cannot like connect and again then you do something. That's not gonna work. You must choose either an external script or a regular script with code. The example above can be split into two scripts to work. Like this. Yeah, you just connect and another script will open and then work. Summary. We can use script tag to add the JavaScript code to go to page. The type and language attributes are not required. A script in an external file can be inserted with scripts like this. There is much more to learn about browser scripts and their interaction with the web page. But let's keep in mind that this is part of the tutorial is devoted to the JavaScript language, so that we shouldn't distract ourselves with the browser-specific implementations of it. We'll be using the browser as the way to run JavaScript, which is very convenient for online reading, but only one of many. Show task, show an alert, click create a page that shows a message on JavaScript. Do it, sandbox only hard drive. Well, I know this. Actually, okay, for the sake of I'm JavaScript, right? Here I can do that. I'm JavaScript. That's it. Code structure. The first thing we'll study in the building blocks of the code. Statements. Statements are syntax constructs and commands that perform actions. We've always seen a statement which shows the message hello world. We can have as many statements in our code as we want. Statements can be separated with a semicolon. For example, here we split hello world into two alerts. Alert, alert, semicolon, statement, statement. Okay. For example, hello world. Usually statements are written on separate lines to make the code more readable. Like, that's not recommended, okay? Don't do that. This is recommended because it's more readable. Semicolons. Semicolon may be omitted in most cases when a line break exists. This would also work. Yeah, doesn't matter. Semicolon actually doesn't matter, but there is a part that matters. Here JavaScript interprets that line break as an implicate semicolon. This is called automatic semicolon insertion. So Guys, I'm kind of thinking, can I be a programmer sometimes? I think because it gets so hard. I'm like, can I be a programmer? Is it actually meant for me? Such question pop-ups in my mind, but I have to strive for to be, because I've actually started. If you start something, you should do it with your high potential. Okay, you shouldn't be lukewarm. Like you shouldn't do like you got what I mean, right? Like 50-50. You should just use your maximum potential. But I'm not actually doing that much. I feel like. Okay, let me just take a break. I'm starting for 30 minutes. Pause. Okay, guys, we're gonna start. I couldn't actually took a lot of time for. Well, I hope somebody's watching my video, even if one person, just one person. Actually, the purpose of posting the video is encouraging myself to, and someone who is watching me is like, hey, I'm also learning JavaScript. Let's learn. Let me learn with this guy. What is he doing? And like, if I find someone like this kind of content, I would definitely watch the person. Yeah, I would watch. In most cases, a new line implies semicolon, but in most cases doesn't mean always. There are cases when a new line doesn't mean a semicolon. For example, alert. Yeah, you can put a semicolon here. The code outputs 6 because JavaScript doesn't insert semicolons here. It is intuitively obvious that if the line ends with a plus, then it is an incomplete expression. So a semicolon there would be incorrect, and in this case, that works as intended. But there are situations where JavaScript fails to assume the semicolon where it's really needed. Errors which occur in these cases are quite hard to find and fix. Okay, if you're curious to see a concrete example of such an error, check this out. Hello. 1, 2. That's it. No need to think about the meaning of the brackets and for each yet. We'll study them later. For now, just remember the result of running the code. It shows hello and 1, 2. Now let's remove the semicolon after the alert. Let's just remove it. Here is removed. Here after alert. The alert. There is no semicolon. Hello. Type error. Alert is undefined. The difference compared to the code above is only one character. The semicolon at the end of the first line is gone. If you run this code, only the first hello shows. Then there's an error. You may need to open the console to see it. There are no numbers anymore. That's because JavaScript doesn't assume a semicolon before square brackets. So the code in the last example is treated as a single statement. Here's how the engine sees it. Alert. Hello. 1, 2 for each. Looks weird, right? Such many merging in this case is just wrong. We need to put a semicolon after the alert for the code to work correctly. This can happen in other situations also. Guys, I just want to master the JavaScript so I can learn other things faster. I just want to be so good at it. Can I be? Yes, you can, if you try hard. What am I doing? I'm doing my best, bro. As time goes on, programs become more complex. It becomes necessary, and commands which describe what the code does and why. Commands can be put in any space of script. They don't affect its execution because the engine simply ignores them. On one line command starts with 2 / characters. The rest of the line is command. It may occupy a full line of its own or follow a statement like here. Alert hello, alert world. This command follows the statement. Multi-line commands start with a forward slash and asterisk and end with asterisk forward slash. Yeah. This is for multiple lines. This is for just one line. The content of comment is ignored, so if you put the code inside, it won't execute. Okay, it doesn't matter for JavaScript if you put inside a comment. Sometimes it can be handled to temporarily disable the part of the code. Use hotkeys. I don't need to use. Please don't hesitate to comment your code. Comments increase the overall code of the footprint. Well, I'm not going to read the whole list because I've actually read before. What I'm going to say is that you should actually comment out your every code because that's much more better. The modern mode use strict. For a long time, JavaScript evolved without compatibility issues, and new features were added to the language while old functionality didn't change. That had a benefit of never breaking existing code, but the downside was that any mistake or any imperfect decision made by JavaScript creator got stuck in the language forever. This was the case until 2009 when ECMAScript 5 appeared. It added new features to the language and modified some of the existing ones. To keep the old code working, most such modifications are off by default. You need to explicitly enable them with a special directive useStrict. Okay, what is useStrict? The directive looks like a string. The directive looks like a string. Yeah. useStrict or useStrict. I cannot see the difference. When it's located at the top of a script, the whole script works the modern way. For example, useStrict. This code works the modern way. useStrict, you just put it on the top of your code, the JavaScript, then it works like a modern way. Quite soon we're going to learn functions, a way to group command, so let's not in advanced, and useStrict can be put at the beginning of function. Doing that enables strict mode in that function only, but usually people use it for the whole script. Ensure that useStrict is at the top. Please make sure that useStrict is at the top of your script, otherwise strict mode may not be enabled. Okay, you should put it at the top of your at the top of your code. Strict mode isn't enabled here. Yeah, it's in the middle. Okay. There's no way to cancel useStrict. There's no directive like no useStrict that reverts the engine to old behavior. You cannot like revert the engine to old behavior with saying no useStrict. Once we enter strict mode, there is no going back. That's it. Browser console. When you use developer console to run code, please note that it doesn't use strict by default. Sometimes when useStrict makes difference, you'll get incorrect results. So how to actually use strict in the console? The first, you can try to press enter, like shift enter, to input multiple lines and put useStrict on top, like this. useStrict, shift enter for a new line, your code enter run, whatever. It works in most browsers, namely Firefox and Chrome. If it doesn't, in all browser, there's an ugly but reliable way to ensure useStrict. Put it inside this kind of wrapper. Function, this. It works in modern, let me read it back again. When you use a developer console to run code, please note that it doesn't use strict by default. Sometimes when useStrict makes a difference, you'll get incorrect results. So, how to actually use strict in console? First, you can try to press shift enter to input multiple lines and put useStrict on top like this. useStrict, shift enter for a new line. It works in most browsers, namely Firefox and Chrome. If it doesn't, in all browser, they're an ugly but a reliable way to ensure useStrict. Put it inside the kind of wrapper. Oh, I understood. Like they're saying, I just put a useStrict for Firefox and Chrome. It just works like how it is. But if that's an old browser, you just put it inside a function and make it the useStrict. That's it. Should we use strict? Okay. The question may sound obvious, but it's not so. One could recommend to start script with Ustrict, but you know what's cool? Modern JavaScript supports classes and modules, advanced language structures. We'll surely get to that enable Ustrict automatically, so we don't need to add Ustrict directive if you use them. So for now, Ustrict is a welcome guest at the top of your script. Later, when your code is all in classes and modules, you may omit it. As of now, we've got to know about Ustrict in general. The next chapter, as we learn language features, we'll see the difference between the strict and old modes. Luckily, there aren't many, and they actually make our lives better. Luckily, there aren't many, and they actually make our lives better. Like they're saying there's not that much difference. So, all examples in this tutorial assume strict mode unless very rarely specified otherwise. A good resource, hoping to get to the end of it. Hope. Let's like it. Hope you will get to that. I'm learning JavaScript from this day. I didn't study even 1 hour in those months except online class time. I dropped this message to see how much my skill improved. By the way, I have no idea what I want to be, a developer or software engineer or something else. Okay guys, let's just move on. Variables. Most of the time in JavaScript application needs to work with information. Here are 2 examples. In a line shop, information might include goods being sold and shopping cart. A chat application, information might include users, message, and much more. Variables are used to store this information. So let's just now take a break and let's go back. Let's minute. I have a video. Let's watch it together.
Welcome to Advanced JavaScript Concepts, the course that will level you up to be in the top 10% of JavaScript developers. Bold statement, I know. My name is Andre, a senior software developer that has consulted and worked for some of the biggest tech firms, both in Toronto and Silicon Valley. As an educator, over 70,000 programmers have taken my courses last year alone. This course has been years in the making. I took all my experience teaching modern JavaScript practices to companies and working on large-scale JavaScript projects and put all that knowledge into most that senior developers make. After finishing this course, you will be able to explain things to your team, programmer friends, and boss. You will be confident in your knowledge and go beyond what you get taught from a normal course. These are the things that nobody teaches you, and you have to learn by working in the industry for years and years. I'm going to take every mistake I have made, things I have learned over the years, combining it with knowledge from other great programmers to fast-track your progress. So, who is this course for? If you are new to JavaScript but want to learn it in depth as quickly as possible, or you don't feel confident with the language, this course is for you. Or maybe you are a bootcamp graduate who needs a deeper understanding of JavaScript, or an experienced programmer who wants to learn JavaScript without wasting the time with the fundamentals of programming. Then this course is for you too. Anyone with a little JavaScript knowledge will be able to benefit from the course, as I have included bonus lectures on beginner topics as well, so you are able to learn no matter what your level. Have a JavaScript library like React, Vue.js, or even Angular. Most developers learn topics on the surface level, but they don't learn topics deeply. When a new shiny JavaScript library comes along, we have to relearn everything all over again. Here's the secret. The best programmers know that it's the fundamentals that allow you to continue being a top performer, not learning the newest trends. After taking this course, you'll be able to go back and relearn all these libraries that you thought you understood, but now properly. Over 1/3 of all developer jobs require some JavaScript knowledge, and is one of the best investments you can make for your career. Remember, the things you do to learn and invest in should be knowledge that is cumulative, so that the knowledge builds on itself. Instead of learning something that might become irrelevant tomorrow, choose things that will make you smarter in 10 years. This course is your answer. As a matter of fact, at the end of the course, if you don't feel like you learn beyond what other courses teach, I have a 30-day money-back guarantee, no questions asked. Have a look at the course outline and next video to see if this course is right for you.
Yeah, that's just right for me. Hopefully.
What does advanced JavaScript mean? Everyone has a different idea of what advanced means. In order to make sure that the course can be enjoyed by everybody, I have structured the course in a unique way so that although everyone will start at different levels of knowledge outline. And the course starts off with the foundations. To make sure that we have those building blocks in place to learn best practices, like into the language environment. Types really important.
Okay, we don't really need this thing, it's just explaining what such things. Introduction's over. Let me sort them out. Come on, guys, let's just type 3.
Hello! We're starting an advanced know how JavaScript works. I write JavaScript every day. Stop wasting my time, Andre. What happened? Execute it. How does Node.js work? We write code in a thing. How anybody, even somebody without tech.
Okay, it's just I got that.
Almost everyone that has worked with JavaScript has heard of the V8
That's
engine.
the important part, guys.
The idea
Just
of the JavaScript engine. And most people know that JavaScript is a single-threaded language, that it uses a callback queue. You may also hear phrases like JavaScript is an interpreted language. Let's tackle what that means over the next couple of videos. What is this engine that we speak of? Well, if I write some code, like let's say const is happy equals to true. Well, we just wrote some JavaScript. I'm assigning the true boolean to the variable is happy. Now, how do we read this? Or how does the computer read this? Imagine if somebody comes up to you and gives you a computer and they tell you, hey, tell this computer to display a picture of horses on the screen. And you start looking at this computer and you tell the computer to display an image of a horse or horses in French. Is the computer going to understand you? No, the computer would have no idea what you just said. In similar fashion, if I gave a computer with a CPU a file that is a JavaScript file, and I tell it, hey, read this file and do something for me, well, the computer only understands ones and zeros at the end of the day. And when we give it the JavaScript file, it's like me talking to a computer in French and the computer being like, what? What are you talking about? Plus, talking to a computer in French, well, people are going to look at you like you're a crazy person. So the computer doesn't really know what JavaScript is. So how are we able to communicate using a JavaScript file so that the computer displays pictures of horses? And this is the first step in our learning, and that is the JavaScript engine. By having a JavaScript engine right over here, it allows you to give this machine the JavaScript file, and this machine is going to understand this file and tell the computer what to do to display pictures of horses. In a sense, you just created a translator, so you can communicate with somebody that doesn't know your language. And this special engine, called the JavaScript engine, understands JavaScript. Our computer finally understands us because of this JavaScript engine, and it says, "I'm on it, boss. I'll start displaying those horse pictures." There you go. That's our first step. And over the next couple of videos, we're going to talk about exactly what's happening inside. But do you think there's one JavaScript engine or many JavaScript engines? Well, as you can see from this Wikipedia list, there are a ton of engines. And they're called ECMAScript engines, and we'll get into why that is later. But these are all the JavaScript engines. Some of them you may have heard of, like V8 or SpiderMonkey or Chakra. So anytime we use an engine, we're able to give it a JavaScript file. And this JavaScript file gets understood by the engine, and it allows this engine to communicate and tell the machine, the computer, to do what we ask it to do with JavaScript. Now, these engines are written by programmers. For example, V8 engine is written in C++. But why do people write these engines? 2008 marked a really pivotal moment in history when it comes to JavaScript, because V8 was released by Google. Before then, most browsers used engines that were very basic, which meant that JavaScript was a little bit slow. You see, Google had this problem. They had something called Google Maps. And Google Maps, as you know, requires a lot of power. It does a lot of things. You can ask it for directions to zoom in and zoom out. Maybe even
Sorry guys, I'm kind of being sleepy. Okay.
use Street View.
I understood what he's saying. Like V8 is like open source, developed by Google, whatever.
And all the previous engines before it would make Google Maps very, very slow on the browser. And Google, because they're a search engine, they want everybody to use their search engine. And they built a browser in order for them to control more of the market. So with Google Maps and their own Chrome browser, they said, we're going to write our own JavaScript engine, the V8 engine, so that JavaScript runs way faster on the browser than it's done previously. And in 2008, they released V8. But the big takeaway for us here is that really, really smart people work on these engines so that our JavaScript runs as fast as possible on the browser, on the server, or any type of computer. So every day, JavaScript gets faster and faster for us because of the work that goes into these engines. Okay, but what is inside this engine, this magical machine that understands JavaScript? It reads our code and then it runs this code. Let's get into that in the upcoming video.
Guys, I'm not sleeping. I'm just like listening, but my head is closed.
Bye-bye. Here's a fun little question. Who do you think created the very first JavaScript engine? Just pause and think about this. Give up? Well, the first person
Brandon Ake or something? Echo, whatever.
To create the very first JavaScript engine was its creator, Brendan Eich.
Yeah, that was out of Brandon, because he created the JavaScript, he created Mozilla, MDN, Firefox, he created many things. Here, Mozilla, it's written.
This man right over here. While working at Netscape, which became the first commercially available browser, he created the early version of what became to be known as SpiderMonkey, which is what Firefox still uses right now as their JavaScript engine. And Brendan Eich was the very first person who created the language JavaScript to implement this engine so that you're able to run JavaScript on a browser that previously could only read HTML and CSS. Fun little fact for you.
The interesting part, he created the language in 10 days. And we're learning the language.
All right, let's get back to the videos.
It takes months to understand.
Welcome back. So we know that this thing called the JavaScript engine takes our written JavaScript code and does some magic to tell the computer to do what we want it to do. So what's happening inside of this engine? And here's the tricky part. As we know, this engine can be built by anybody. Yes, that means you can build your own JavaScript engine. But it's a lot of work. And at the end of the day, it's just a program. And the V8 engine, which is the most popular, most common, and some would say the fastest JavaScript engine that the Chrome browser and Node.js uses, which we'll talk about later on, this engine is written in C++, a low-level programming language. But let's see what's actually happening inside here. Inside this engine, it looks something like this. We give it a JavaScript file. And first it does something called lexical analysis, which breaks the code into something called tokens.
Okay, the code comes from here, parsers, some SCT, what that is, interpreter,
to identify their meaning so that we know what the code is trying to do. And these tokens are formed into what we call an AST, that is an abstract syntax tree. So we parse the code, that is, we try and figure out how the text is divided up based on keywords from JavaScript, and it gets formed into this tree-like structure called abstract syntax tree. And there's a fun little tool online that you can use to demo this. If we go to astexplorer.net, it'll show you how this abstract syntax tree looks like. And you have a bit of code here, and as you can see, you can look at it in JSON format, or you can use the tree. And it breaks down the program into different things that are happening. We have a variable declaration, a declarator.
I'm sleeping, guys.
And although this may look like gibberish right now to you,
because I need to get a rest a little bit. I'm tired. So, hope you guys having fun. I'm gonna end this video. I'm gonna upload this video, the second part, after some time. Yeah.